15 top teacher tips to improve your English. As a British English teacher with over 20 years experience, I'm going to share my 15 top tips to improve your English for those of you who really want to take your English to the next level. Find a good teacher. In my opinion, a good teacher is someone who makes the students practice as much as possible during the class. Contrastingly, an inexperienced teacher may well be unable to explain grammatical rules, may be unfamiliar with the reasons why students make mistakes, and will probably use material that is irrelevant to giving you a productive class. Pay attention to teacher corrections. When your teacher is correcting you during the class, they are passing on valuable information to you. It is then your responsibility as a student to learn this correction and make sure you don't repeat it in the future. If you don't do this, you're likely to make the same mistakes again and again. Be meticulous in your studies. If you want to speak precise English that impresses listeners, you have to focus on the small details. This means paying attention to grammar rules and exceptions. All the students I've taught in C2 proficiency groups are very meticulous. Many of the students in the lower levels are not. But don't try to learn every single word. At the same time, your head will explode if you try to absorb everything. You must prioritize. Ask yourself, is this word really going to be useful for me? If the answer is no, let it pass. Apply the 80-20 principle. To improve your speaking fluency, you need to remember that 80% of the words used in everyday conversations come from only 20% of the English language. Don't neglect the foundations of English like basic tenses, verb forms and question formation, as this is what you have to use the most often. Do the boring things. You may think you've been learning things like irregular verb lists all your life, but it's still important to brush up on them as they are an essential part of everyday English. Use a personalised application to help you organise the vocabulary you study. An old-fashioned notebook is still good for initially writing things down in class or while you study, but the process of revising everything will become much more efficient with a personalised app. Work through grammar books at home. Either work through one book after another or repeat the same book again and again. The repetition of some things like grammar, tenses and verb forms will slowly stick with you. Develop a study system that works for you. Most of us don't have much time, or we think we don't. It's probably easier if you reserve a regular slot every week. Maybe have a 1-hour gap somewhere, than relying on your self-discipline, because there are too many distractions in the week. It's better to repeat 3 or 4 small tasks regularly, like one podcast, one chapter from your novel, one irregular verb session, and one page from your grammar book per week to help you cover a few different areas. Only set realistic goals. Based on your study system, fix a medium-term goal, perhaps 6 months or 1 year away. An obvious choice is passing an exam, but it could be something like finishing your grammar book or writing one 2-page essay for a month over 6 months. Set a reachable goal and make sure you achieve it. Most students are too ambitious, get nowhere near their goal and give up because they feel disappointed. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If you don't have any gaps in your week to fit in a study session, there must be a way you can practice something while doing some kind of monotonous, everyday task. This could be listening to podcasts or audiobooks while driving to work, revising vocabulary on your mobile while waiting for the train, or sneaking in a couple of pages of your novel while you're waiting for your dental appointment. Follow something continuous. If you read a novel, you'll end up reading more than separate magazine or internet articles because you don't have to keep deciding what to read next, and your focus is the end of the book. The same can be said for radio drama series instead of random podcasts. Don't think spending 1 year abroad will automatically mean you improve effortlessly. I've seen numerous students go to London or other English-speaking destinations and come back with pretty much the same level, and others come back more fluent but speaking incorrect English because they've developed bad habits. There's no doubt that being surrounded by English allows you to absorb a lot of vocabulary, but you still have to make an effort when you're there. This means two things: making sure you are speaking English as much as possible. Sometimes this can be difficult if you're not in the right group of people, and continuing to study. TV series are not a substitute for proper listening comprehension practice. This doesn't mean you should stop watching series or films in English. Just understand that this is not productive listening time, and you should dedicate more time to productive and beneficial listening exercises. I've left you a link in the notes below for this one. English is a marathon and not a sprint. Learning a language is something progressive. If you neglect it, you'll lose your level of fluency. Don't think that it's just about obtaining certificates and then stopping. You need to keep your English fit. If you want to learn British English with me, please hit the subscribe button to join the community and take your English to the next level.